Hey guys, Baramality here with this episode of The Comeback Game. And today we have Martin Ebongue, who's actually currently in Bali with us for the episode. Martin, how you doing, mate?
Well, I'm good, thank you, and I'm really happy to be here, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, look, I'm so grateful you could join us for today's episode. So, look, as you know, the comeback game, we're looking to inspire over 1 million people in the next 12 months, sharing
Yeah,
stories of adversity and challenge and, how those challenges or adversity or things that we go through in life that sometimes we don't even think we can get through actually become our greatest breakdowns, but also our greatest
yeah.
breakthroughs. And so before we get into that, because I'm sure you've got some skeletons in the closet, tell the listeners and the viewers out there today a little bit about you and what it is that you do.
All right, so yep. Hi everybody. So I'm Martin, as you guys know by now. So to tell you more about me, I've been working online for the last maybe like 5 years, traveling around the globe
Yeah.
and living, earning passive income from like different businesses that I've built, and we'll actually talk about how this was built and all the adversity that led there.
Yeah.
I'm French originally, but I haven't been. I left France 5 years ago, and I've been traveling ever since, trying to discover new cultures and new languages. So right now I speak like 5 languages already, and trying to learn a sixth language. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but other than that, yeah, I'm a very curious person. Always trying to invest in myself and get more knowledge, and yeah, that's pretty much what I could say about me.
Yeah. So you're a very humble guy. I know when we met recently, I was pretty blown away that the more that I started to speak with you and get curious about what is it you do. So, you're traveling around the world. You've created a business that works without you, that provides you with a significant passive income.
Yeah.
And, you use your time learning, exploring new things. You've learned 5 languages. What languages have you learned?
So French, Italian, because actually I grew up in Italy. I grew up in Rome.
Yeah.
Then learned German, English, and then when I was traveling, I went to Mexico, and I learned Spanish.
Wow. And what's the
Uh,
sixth one that you're learning at the moment?
well, the sixth one I should have learned ages ago is Bahasa here in Indonesia.
Yes.
I should know it by now. I'm really ashamed of myself. But yeah, that's the sixth one I should know by now. But
Yeah.
maybe the next one I'll learn will be Portuguese, because with French, Italian, and Spanish, I mean, it will be like a breeze to learn it. My Spanish, I learned it in like a month and a half. I
Yeah.
was proficient in Spanish, so I think with the Portuguese might be the same thing, because I know three like Latin languages. So you know.
Yeah. So I should have maybe said Pagi Apakaba.
Oh, all right, okay, yeah, that's the pretty much the extent of my Bahasa right now. So to me, you're fluent.
Yeah. So, mate, it's pretty phenomenal. And I suppose one thing that I want to point out for the people listening out there is you never know who you're in the room with.
Yeah,
I know for myself, like I'm guilty that I, spent many years, and even still sometimes today, going to rooms and, maybe make assumptions of who I'm in the room with or who I'm not in the room with or who's who, and let's be honest, it is human instinct a little bit to judge people by the way they maybe look or the way they act or the way they hold themselves. But one thing I've been finding lately and been spending a lot of time working on this in me is really just being curious of everybody and
yeah,
anybody. And it's been phenomenal with people that I've actually met and, people that you wouldn't even think are doing things that are doing absolutely amazing things when you stop to just get curious about people and step out of the way. And so, you're someone that I have a lot of curiosity about. When we spoke, I understood that you built a list of what, 9 million people or something like that
right,
for maybe even more now for your e-commerce business. And not only that, you'd actually built a business of raving fans that basically bought anything you put out in front of them, and
yeah,
you created a business that was providing you to live a leveraged lifestyle, meaning that you haven't got to get up and go to work every day and you get paid. And I'm
yeah.
sure there's a lot of people out there that would love to create something like that for themselves. So let's take it back a few steps. Like, what was life like for you, 10, 15, 20 years ago?
So my life, you meet a lot of people tell you, oh, I hated my job and I hated my boss and stuff like that. Me, I actually had a job that I actually liked. I did enjoy my work, and so I was working in like really big corporate. So I mean, in the audience, you have people familiar with like email marketing and stuff. So they might be using autoresponders like Aweber and GetResponse and all that stuff. But these are actually like, for if you compare it to the companies I was working for, these are like small timers. Clients were Skype, Pepsi, Coca-Cola, Procter & Gamble and stuff. So I was actually managing their email campaign to everything related to their emails. So I was working with like these super like big companies, and I actually learned a lot from them. But the thing I think what helped me, so I don't know if that's the right path or if it's not. For me, it was. I actually started my first real job, I would say, was in a startup, and I was working on spam filters. So I was basically stopping emails coming in for like super big brands as well, but it was a small startup. And the reason why I think that combination was good for me was that in retrospective, when I look at it, the startup environment gives you a comprehensive view of everything that's happening, because you're asked to do a lot of different things, so you understand where your task stands in the whole process. And if you're curious enough, because basically once you finish the task, someone next to you is doing the rest, exactly what's happening. So that helped me develop this comprehensive view. So what I want when I work on something is to understand the ins and outs from beginning to the end. That's what the startup, environment taught me. And then afterwards, I moved to these like super big corporations where it's like process oriented. Allowed me to build processes to make sure that the task can be repeated and the same quality is there. And that combo allowed me to basically get to where I am today, where I'm very curious about everything that's happening, but I put in place some processes that once you implement them really well, everything can run without you.
So, it's an interesting background. Like, as you know, we work with hundreds of businesses, and business is a science. It's not by chance that companies get to where they are. They get to where they are because they follow a system. Now, whether they're conscious of the system they're following or it's just by luck or by chance, I've met a lot of business owners that are running multiple companies, making a lot of money, and can't even complete an Excel worksheet. And then I've also met other business owners that are like super smart, and they're struggling to make any money and get their company off the ground. And like you say, like the one thing, obviously startups, you have to be able to be so diverse in wearing a bunch of different hats, doing a bunch of different roles, whereas in the corporate, or once you start to climb the ladder, it becomes more so focused on doing one thing and doing one thing well.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it was a good mix, because sometimes in the corporate world, this was a global company. So sometimes you perform a task, someone on the other side of the planet gave you the task, you don't know what happened before. You do your part, you send it to someone else in the US, and something is done, you have no idea what it is, And so you have this like tunnel view sometimes with all these processes and stuff. So me, I try to take the best of both worlds. And when I put in place processes today, I put in place some really good processes. I mean, from my standards, I'm happy with my processes and stuff, but I always make sure to give everybody in the team the complete view of why we're doing this, like why are we doing this, and what's happening with the task that you perform. This is the impact it will have at the end, so that it will help the next person and stuff like that. So that's that's how. So I started with startup. I worked with these like super massive companies. So my role was actually I was in charge of like massive email campaigns of like sending millions of emails per day, and my job was to make sure that these emails actually land in the inboxes, because your ROI depends on how many emails actually get there. That's people, if people don't see your emails, then you're not making any money. So so it was a lot of like monitoring that I had to put in place, and a lot of networking with people managing Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo, etc. All the people who managed like the servers, I knew all these people, and I was working in conjunction with them.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I was just going to say, it's interesting. I was doing some training last night, and a lot of people reckon that email's dead. Obviously you've got a lot of things happening with social media right now. You've got a lot of things happening with AI and bots and so forth. But, I can contest from where I'm sitting, and you too, I believe you still heavily use email, that emails are not dead if you understand how to create the right offer and the right message to the right market. And you understand some basics around that. Like, it's what I see a lot, I suppose, in the business world is people are always willing to jump on the next big thing because they believe it's going to get them, the shortcut way to success. And although I believe like bots are amazing and something we're using quite a lot in our business now, you don't abandon the ship with the other things, because it's like, if you learn to master, like you look at marketing, marketing is irrelevant whether it's on Facebook or Google AdWords or through a bot or through email. If you understand the psychology of marketing and creating understanding your niche, creating a compelling offer and being able to articulate to them, you have that regardless of what platform's working, because Facebook is working now, but it might not be working in 12 months' time. It might be something else. What I'd be curious to know from you, though, is that obviously, you said like a lot of other people, you really enjoyed doing what you're doing. And, my assumption based on the conversation we've had and the conversation with a lot of people is that there's probably people in that industry that weren't enjoying what they were doing, right, within that business. And so what I'm curious to dive into is more so your psychology and your mindset, because here's the thing, right? We don't see life the way that life is. We see life the way that we are. And some people, it doesn't matter what the hell you give them to do, they're always going to bitch and moan and groan and be unhappy.
Yes.
Right? Because that's just the way that they're wired. And that's the way they choose to show up in the world. Whereas other people, you can give them anything to do and they're going to be happy because that's how they're wired and that's how they show up in the world. So what I'm curious to know with you is, like, were you always like this? Like, if you look back right to your childhood, were you always this happy-go-lucky kind of kid that seen the best in everything you did? Or was there a moment in time when things started to shift for you?
I think this is realizations that I had in the last couple of years, when I started traveling, I started going around the planet, because there was a whole period that I took, since I didn't have to work operationally and stuff, to do like introspection and understand who I was and why I was doing. You have some behaviors that you were doing before, it was just mechanic, you didn't know why. And I was trying to understand who I was, which is, I know who I am now, and that's why I'm able to be very happy. My philosophy is, find out what you love, do a lot of it. Find out what you hate, do as little as possible. Right? Yeah. And in order to do a lot of it, I had to figure out what it was. And I realized that, well, since I've been a kid, I've always been passionate. Ever since the day I was born, I've always been passionate with like having a choice, right? So for example, if there is a task, if you give me something to do that I will do it every day, right? I absolutely love it. And I will do it because I don't have to, right? But the minute someone orders me to do it, even if it's the one thing that I love doing it, I will hate it, because I feel I don't have a choice. And,
wow.
So it's, but before without knowing myself, I had no idea why I was doing some things and my reactions. But me, it's just, if I feel that I don't have a choice, like, I could say yes or no, I will hate it regardless what it is, even if it's something that I absolutely love doing. And now that I know that, I understand more, some of my behaviors when I was a bit younger. But me, basically, what changed, a bunch of things changed my perspective. I think the biggest shift for me was Tim Ferriss's book, the 4-Hour Workweek. A buddy of mine gave me the book, and he said, "Oh, you should definitely read it, because I think it would be of interest for you." Because based on who he thought I was like really stubborn and always trying to get more freedom and stuff. And I read the book, and the book itself, more than the actual like techniques and stuff, he teaches it in there, the strategies. For me, the takeaway was there is something else out there, right? Because there is one system where we're all brought and we're all led to believe that there is only one system. and that, you graduate from university, then you find an internship, and you do this and you do that and you do that. But that's the only system that has been shown to you. But then you realize that, oh, there's actually something else, right? And that opens a lot of new perspectives. So at the time when I was reading the book, I didn't have the knowledge that I have today, because now with repetition, if I read the book today, some of the things that he was saying, I'll be like, oh yeah, it makes sense. At the time, I didn't remember every single strategy. What I remember was that system that everybody's using today is not the only one, and it's just one system, right? It's one system, doesn't mean it has to be the only system. And at that point, I started thinking about, how we're actually living our life. And I basically came up with this, what I named the life of sacrifice. Because when I looked at my life, and I was like, well, you know what? I'm actually sacrificing 5 days a week to have 2 days off, right? And on these 2 days, sometimes you're too tired to do anything. And before you actually realize that it's the weekend, and you have to go back to work. And then I was like, I'm sacrificing, well, we have more holiday in France, but you're sacrificing a whole year for 2 weeks holiday. You're happy to sacrifice your whole year for that. And then you'll sacrifice your whole life for maybe 10 years of pension. And I was like, you know what? This life of sacrifice is not for me. I don't want to do that. I want to find a way to be able to, enjoy, build a life that works for me as a person. Yeah. So I don't have to build the life that everybody will love, because everybody's unique. Nobody's like you, nobody's like me. Yeah. So I will build the life that I want, and I don't have to do any sacrifices and everything. And I started to look for ways to actually achieve that. I didn't know, how I was going to get there, but I just knew what I had to do.
Yeah. I definitely think there's something for the people out there to take from this. What I'm taking from it is that there's a bit of a rebel inside of you, Martin. There's a bit of a rebel inside of you that does a bit of this one when you're told what to do. It's that same part of you that very easily could have taken you down the wrong path in life, or taken you down a negative path in life, and seen you live a life of crime or disruption or conflict. But instead you chose to use that against your perceived limiting beliefs. And what I mean by that is you chose to look at the system and went, well, okay, that's how they're all choosing to live. That's what's happening over there. But actually there could be something else. What is that something else? Not needing to know what it was, but just needing to know that, hang on, I'm a rule breaker. I'm a game changer. If I wasn't to do that, what else could it be? And it's funny because, when we very first started and you gave you a bit of an intro, I was like, man, you're like a Tim Ferriss. A lot of what you share, the principles, is very much Tim. It's like Tim is, everyone else is zigging and Tim Ferriss is zagging, in terms of work out what everyone else is doing and just do the opposite. Yeah. Just do the opposite of that. But how does someone do that? And the reason that I ask that is that I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that have massive conflict or concerns with worrying about what people think of them, or worrying about, failing, or worrying about doing the opposite. Because, a lot of people talk about modeling, find someone in life that's achieving success and do what they do. Just do what they do. But that lacks choice. That lacks a bit of curiosity to some degree. So, what suggestion would you make to people out there who are maybe feeling stuck in their current situation, or feeling stuck in the system?
Yeah, what I will say is, sometimes, so Tim Ferriss basically, what he was saying was, if everybody zigs, I will zag. And in my case, it happened. It happened sometimes, but not consciously. I wasn't trying to zig while everybody was zagging. Me, when I was zigging, it was in line with who I am, right? So I'm like, I'm going to do this because this is who I am, and I don't want to do this because I don't know. It's it's for me. It's like something I don't want to do based on who I am. I ended up doing something completely different from other people because they feel they have to do it, even though they don't want to. So very often, when I talk to people, I'm zigging while they're zagging, but it's not because I chose to go the different path. It's just I'm just following who I am. Now I know who I am. There is stuff that things that I don't want to do, people I don't want to work with. I had clients, for example, they were paying me good money, but they were asking me, they were a pain in my back, and they were asking me stuff that I don't want to do and stuff like this. And I dropped them. I was like, I'll drop the client, even though they were bringing me a lot of money, because it's in line with the person I am. So sometimes it will drive me a different path from where other people are. But me is if you stay true to like who you are, then yeah, just go that direction. And don't look at, too much what other people are doing. Look at what they're doing right? And try to, take some lessons out of it, but don't just go and copy. Just do something that you want to do personally as for your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad, Nat. I'm glad that you got there. It comes down to, very much a principle, a way of living that I take on myself and have done for many years now, which is following your own heart. Following that intuition. I strongly believe that when we're born into a space of what I'd call like heart consciousness, that infinite intelligence, that sense of knowing. And I think that through growing up, we're not taught to harbor and to grow that aspect of us. We start going to school and we're taught from a knowledge perspective. A lot of what we're taught in the schooling system doesn't actually serve us in the long term to live a successful life. Like they don't teach you in schools to manage wealth, or to grow wealth. Like why? Yeah. That's something that's a massive issue that we have as society, is people living below this wealth threshold. Yet we're not taught in schools. We're taught a bunch of BS to fit a standard curriculum that doesn't really serve us in the long term. And I think that like you say, is like, we are born in this space of heart consciousness, knowing, having that gut instinct that people talk about, but we're not really taught to follow it. We're taught to develop our logic and our reason, which often is based on opinions of others. We buy into the opinions of others. And it's like, if you buy in the belief of others, they're yours to keep. And I read a quote the other day somewhere that, what did it say? It said, the biggest problem that we have as human beings is not what we're not doing, but what we are doing that's simply not true. Not what we believe, but by not what we're not believing, but what we believe that's simply not true. Is to buy the beliefs we bought into of others or of society, rather than buying into the belief of self and really tapping into and taking that time. And this is what I'm kind of getting from you, is you've taken that time to go, okay, what does Martin actually want out of life? It reminds me back to Mark's book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. And he talks about the fact, have you read that book?
Yeah, I read it. It was actually really, really helpful. It was really, I did like that book.
Amazing book. And, I distinctly remember a section where he said most people are buying into setting goals that aren't actually their own goals. And they're not even aware of that. They're setting goals around financial targets or materialistic targets, and that they're not actually consciously aware enough to realize that they've bought into those goals from others because they believe they'll fit in or be successful without challenging why they want that. Yeah. And I know for us, we get a lot of people that come to us that want to make a lot more money or, have a huge business. Like I spoke to a lady this morning, she wanted to bring on board 1,000 clients this year. And when we really got clear of what she wanted, she didn't want 1,000 clients. She wanted the results she believed that was going to give her. And we retweaked a model, and we worked out that if we retweaked a model, she would only need to bring on board 130 clients to get the same result. Because I said, we can get you 1,000 clients, but are you willing to sacrifice and invest what you have to get there? Because if you're wanting more of something in life, you have to be willing to let go of something else. Because life is like essentially a seesaw to some degrees. We want more of something, we need to let go of something else, reprioritize. So really being clear and taking the time to step into oneself. What was the moment that caused you to do that? Like, what was that moment that you kind of realized, shit, I need to really step back into me and work out what I want? Like, what was a defining moment that came about?
It was 2010. It was a horrible story with an ex-girlfriend. It was really a really, really bad story where I realized that, you know what, I might have been doing stuff that, I was actually trying to please other people instead of doing something for me. And go back to a conversation I had. I had a conversation with a teacher, and I was basically telling that teacher that in the school curriculum, if you ask anybody, if you survey anybody on this planet and you ask them what's their number one wish, everybody is going to tell you, I want to be happy. Like everybody will tell you that.
Yeah.
But there is not a happiness class in your whole country. They don't teach you that stuff. And me, I was like, I mean, some people think it's very selfish. I don't think it's selfish, but I basically, look at logically, I do the math. I'm like, your girlfriend, your wife, your wife, for example, how long are you going to be with this person? Could be a year, 10 years, or until you die. But how long are you going to live with yourself? I mean, whatever happens until the day you die, you're going to live with yourself. And since the day you were born, you're going to live with yourself. So the number one person you need to understand and to make happy is that person inside of you. And once I realized that, I was like, well, you know what? The fact of chasing your dreams and pursuing your goals is not antagonistic with pleasing other people and be nice to people and stuff like that. You just have to prioritize. You have your dreams and goals, and you're following them, and not along the path you'll meet nice people, you collaborate, you'll be nice to people and everything, but this has to be your number one priority. Once I understood that, my life became a lot easier. Because again, if you know yourself, I mean, for me, it's like the biggest change in my life is understanding who I am. Because from now on, the formula for me to be happy and live the life that I want is very simple. And to minimize the frustrations and everything is very simple. There's stuff I don't really want to deal with, and I'm not going to put up with it. There are people that I don't really want in my life, even though they might bring me something here and there. If there's something fundamental for me, that's a core value for me, then I'll stay away from these people. So yeah, it was when I realized that find out who that person is inside, then do what that person wants, change everything for me.
Yeah, because happiness is not a destination that a lot of people perceive it to be. Happiness is a journey. And people say they want to be happy. You can be happy like that fast. Having more money or a different partner or a new car, a new job is not going to make you happy. It might momentarily, but if fundamentally you're not happy with the person that you are inside, that's eventually going to wear off. It's a quick fix that doesn't last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I get that. That's amazing. It's really cool. So tell me then, what advice would you have to the business owners, the entrepreneurs, the people out there that are watching or listening to this today that are not happy, that are not where they want to be in life? Like, what advice would you give them?
Well, my advice is so basically there's a lot of noise around you. So you're basically taught that you don't have a choice. You actually do have a choice. Like if you don't like the situation you're in, then you have the possibility to quit, for example. It's gonna suck, right? Because nobody says it's easy, but you can. People feel they're stuck in a life and they have no choice. You do have a choice. Like a lot of people tell me, oh dude, you're lucky, or you live in you're in Bali, you're here, you're there, I can't do that and stuff. And I'm like, dude, if you know how to click and go on Expedia, then you can do the same thing I do. You take a plane ticket and you can do it. So it's if you're not happy in your life, I'm not saying just call it quits. You have everything in yourself to change your current situation. It will take, nobody says it's easy. It will take work, it will take dedication, but you can actually do it. Like everybody can be a decorated chef. Nobody is born with their genes saying, I'm going to cook amazing pizzas. These people, they just I don't know, do you say bake for pizza, or they made more pizzas than you. That's what they do. They made 300,000 more pizzas than you. But if you make pizzas every day, then you're going to eventually become a chef. And I saw a quote from, I don't remember who the quote was from, but it says, we overestimate the things that we can do in a week, but we underestimate the things we can achieve in a year. Right? So if you want to change your life and stuff, give yourself a year. A year, it will just fly by. Once you're doing something very interesting and you're investing in it, a year is not too long. Like if you take 1 year and you perfect yourself, let's say you do something once a day for a year, you've done it 365 times, right? And if you spend 2 hours a day, you've done 750 hours of something. And at that point, you'll be like pretty much an expert in the field. And at that point, you can make decisions. So it's just, if you want to change your current situation, start now. We live in a digital area, right? If you want information, you can find it. It's easy. You can find the information. It's just the dedication. Start small. You do it, once a day, and a year, 2 years. In 2 years, maybe you can change your life around. But just start today and do it consistently. You're not.
Yeah, and the thing to note too, though, is that you can always change your mind. If you start doing something different today, and in a year's time you look back and you're like, oh damn, like this is not quite where I want to be. You can change your mind again, But I suppose the thing to really understand is that at least you've done something different. Einstein talks about definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. So the worst case of changing things is you decide you don't like it, but at least you can pat yourself on the back that you made a new decision, and maybe you realize that the thing you were doing, you didn't hate so much as what you did, but at least you're doing something different.
Yes, exactly. And so like people are afraid of failing, right? And there is this quote, I don't know who to attribute that to, but I think it's Mark Cuban, because I've seen two people who said that. But Mark Cuban, he said, in business, you only have to get it right once, right? You can fail 10 times if you want. Once you get it right once, then that's it. You're good. You're golden. It's not like there are other fields where you feel like if you fail once, then that's it. Like you should be ashamed of yourself. In business, sorry,
heart surgeon.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. Yeah, but you can try different things. You don't have to get it right. You can get it right once, and that's it. And in the process, once you do that, you've tried 9 different methods. You've basically eliminated 9 different ways that don't work. So you're like a step ahead of like everybody. But yeah, and again, based on discussions I have with a lot of people is, so people still live in the industrial age in their mind. It's still industrial age, where if you want to start a business, then you need to have 360 employees and 5 offices, and you need like a big plant and all that stuff. Today, honestly, if you know about stuff about woodworking, you can basically create a Facebook group. It's free. I mean, how much you pay for a Facebook group? It's free. You basically tell people, look, I'm really good at woodworking. Every week, I will show you one different way of sculpturing something. Just pay me $9 a month. I give you access to the group. How much money did you pay? Like, if you fail, you're not going to have to sell your baby's cradle or your wife's wedding ring or something. Yeah. It's not going to cost you anything. You can start a business for like $10 today. So don't be afraid of like failing and stuff. The more you fail, the more you learn. And down the road, I've tried different things that didn't work. But since I learned about the subject, then down the road, I've met people who were in that specific field, and they start talking to me, and I can reply back, and they're like, "Oh, you know about it?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it gives you the opportunity to talk with a variety of different people, because you do understand like the different. So the whole marketing process, you understand what's happening at different. Stages of the customer journey and everything, and you can talk to a variety of different people and build a huge network. So it's knowledge. Knowledge is something, once you have it in your brain, it stays there forever. It's not going to penalize you, on the contrary. So go for it. You only have to get it right once, and it's not going to cost you anything. You can start a business for free today. So just go and do it. You don't have anything to lose.
Yeah, mate, it's so knowledgeable, so wise. So to recap a few points is, you're never failing, you're only ever learning. So just get out there and try something different. Number 2 is that happiness is not a destination, it's a journey. And the way to get there is to start to focus back on you, because you live with yourself from the moment you're born to the moment you die. You're the only person you live with for that amount of time and have to deal with.
Yeah.
right? So spend the time getting to know yourself and getting to know what makes you happy. Invest time daily on trying something new and keep at it until you make a new decision. And, you know, a decision's not a decision until there's no other option. So, you know, make a decision and stick to it. And I think for me, the big one is just really connecting with yourself and really taking the time to explore who you are and what kind of lights you up and to move forward. Like, I'm sure when you started your business, you probably didn't even think you were going to get to where you are right now. But through following, moment by moment and following that journey, like you said, you never necessarily chose to go out there and zag when people were zigging. You just chose to follow what you wanted to do. Yeah,
exactly.
Martin, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate all your knowledge and wisdom. If you guys out there enjoyed this episode as much as me, and I'm sure Martin has, make sure you like, share, comment, tag someone in who you think needs this message, and we'll certainly look forward to see you on the next episode. And Martin, mate, we'd love to have you back.
Yeah, man. It's for me, it's my first ever podcast, like where I'm invited and stuff. So I'm very honored. And it's actually awesome. I want to start my own. I've been postponing that and stuff, but I'm very, very honored and very happy that you invited me. It's actually my first one, you know. And it was
podcast cherry.
Sorry,
I popped your podcast cherry.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. So so I really hope that this can if it helps even just one person, then it's really awesome. I know, like, my message would not resonate with a lot of different people, but I'm not trying to please everybody, but just that one thing, just try to understand who you are and then just follow that, and it will change your life. It will make you so much happier than you are right now. It did it for me, so I can't talk for everybody, but for me, it just made wonders.
Yeah, awesome. Terry Makasi.
Sama-sama.
Yeah.
Balinese, I say Mawali. So now you make me look good. People will be like, oh, this dude knows everything about Bahasa. So thank you for that one.